It's now time to envelope our horse. Let's unfreeze our mesh layer, grab the horse, and apply our skin modifier. Now we're ready to add our bone objects. So we'll search for BN at the top and choose select. Alright, so let's go ahead and again freeze the mesh layer and start to play around with a few of our controls. So we can see that we get some stretchiness around the horse's head, but that's not a problem to fix at all. It's just a matter of weighting those points fully to our head bone, and then we can start to average the points in between. If you'd like to learn more weight painting techniques, feel free to take a look at Introduction to Character Rigging. But we're just going to go over more of the critical areas and cover some time-saving techniques. Let's go ahead and take a look at our neck twist. Beautiful. So we're getting some very nice twist distribution. How about the vertebrae? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and continue working our way through. How about the thoracic limbs? All right, so we have some collapsing, but again, that's not a problem to fix at all. Just need to weight those points back to the radius bone. Same thing goes for the pelvic limbs. We just have a few points to reweight to the bones that should be directly tied to them. How about the fetlock roll? All right, that looks pretty good. The hoof needs to be a bit more solidified, but again, it's just a matter of fully weighting to pastern B, and we'll have some great results in no time around that area. How about the tail? So you can see fins have done a wonderful job at holding volume and preventing unwanted influence. So if we hadn't used fins, we'd probably notice a lot of pulling coming from our pelvic limbs. Now tail A, keep in mind that this is mainly a rotational control. We can move this object for more exaggeration if you'd like, but chances are we'll want this anchored to the pelvis. We do have some points that should be weighted to vertebrae A so that they stick with the posterior of our horse. But again, that's very easy to fix. Now, something I'd like to point out to you is our stretchy vertebrae. So you can see, all right, things look really nice. However, we get to a point where the posterior of our horse actually stretches a bit too far. And that's because of our stretchy bone. So I'll go ahead and show you a technique for fixing those type of unwanted stretchy deformations. This is really cool. Now, what we'll want to do is clone vertebrae A. That's where the stretching is coming from. And then we'll want to disable the length of the bone that we clone. So the object that we clone from this, we'll want to make sure we freeze the length. But even before that, let's go ahead and save our weights out. So selecting our horse, we'll go ahead and scroll down to our advanced parameters rollout. We'll choose save. I'll go ahead and take care of that and pause the video. Okay, so you can see the default directory for these weights is our scenes folder. And I've renamed the file to horse weights. All right, so at that point, we're now ready to work on our extra bone object. So let's go ahead and bring back objects to hide. We'll need to clone not only vertebrae A, but also its nub object so that this bone does not stretch or skew. All right, so with vertebrae A selected, we'll also grab the nub. And with these two selected, there we go. We'll go ahead and clone as copies. All right, so next, we'll want to rename our original bone that should stretch to vertebrae A underscore stretch 01, and we'll do the same thing for its nub object, so we could always hit page down. So again, we'll give it a suffix of stretch. Now the bone that we've cloned, let's go ahead and name it the name of the original bone. So that should just be vertebrae A01. Again, we'll use page down to grab the nub and rename that. All right. So at this point, we'll now go ahead and grab the bone that we've cloned, which is vertebrae A, and let's head over to our bone tools. So we're going to scroll down until we get to our object properties, and we'll go ahead and enable freeze length. Now we're not quite there just yet. If we were to grab our pelvis control and start to pull this, we'll still get stretchiness, and that's because of the nub being locked down. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. But first, let's go ahead and add the new bone as an influence. So selecting our mesh, we'll scroll up and add the bone object to our bone list. So again, we'll search for BN. There it is right at the top. Let's go ahead and choose select. Okay, great. So now we can go ahead and load in our weights. The reason why we went ahead and renamed those bone objects is because Max looks at the name of these envelope bones to know exactly how to reload the weights back in. That's why it's very accurate. So what we'll do is go ahead and scroll all the way down and go ahead and load our weights in. Let's go ahead and also use match by name to make sure everything gets mapped properly. So when we choose that, you'll see that Max has made sure that each bone lines with the bone it should correspond with. So now we can go ahead and choose OK. And now let's go ahead and check this out. I'll go back to shaded mode and start to pull the pelvis control. All right, so we'll see the same behavior. However, watch this. If we were to go back to wireframe mode, I'll show objects to hide, so we can go ahead and grab the nub object that we've cloned. And now if we were to head over to our motion panel and remove the position constraint, just delete it, you'll notice that no longer is that bone stretching, but also you have saw a change in the deformations of the pelvis. So if we were to just undo that and then again remove the constraint, there's the before and after. All right, beautiful. So that's how we would correct issues like that. And if you notice any unwanted pulling still in this area, well, it's just a matter of reweighting back to the bone that is non-stretchy. Great. All right. Well, that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll cover a few weight painting techniques.